Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and I hope your projects are coming along. I want to wish you all the best on that. So, this is my screencast, and I'm just presenting the project that I did for VFCA, which is Valley Fellowship Christian Academy out here in Huntsville, Alabama. My project was an extension of the literature review I did, which was effective memory retention strategies for social studies. As a prior social studies teacher, I was naturally drawn to those articles, and so that kind of drove my research. But being an elementary principal and then doing a presentation that was going to involve all of our teachers from K-5 through 12, I knew that that particular literature review was going to have to adapt those strategies to what they were currently going through. So I took quite a few of those ideas that were within that paper, and then I modified them and adapted them to what my teachers could actually work with. And I also included some stuff from Suze's book on how to compress time and do a compressed lesson in prime time learning. So let's just get right to it. So this was my slideshow presentation that I did. I'll just take you through very quickly. I just went ahead and started talking about effective memory retention strategies for students. And this is a picture of my daughter. I included her because on this particular slide, I talk about why I pursued studying retention strategies. Because as a social studies teacher, I could see that some students could retain social studies knowledge very easily, while others could not. As a principal, I have reviewed all of our ACT Aspire scores, and one of the areas that we're weak in is science. We have some students that are very good at it, but we have others that are struggling, and mostly we're struggling in that department. So what were some ways that we may be able to address that issue? And as a parent, my son retains math facts much better than my daughter does. And so while that may be a factor of intelligence or something like that, I wanted to see if there were maybe some effective memory retention strategies that could possibly help her as well. So that's why I began working my way through retention strategies. I ended up at social studies, but I've adapted those for this particular presentation. In this slide, I talked about that I'm an MED, but I'd had some pitfalls as a teacher that I didn't necessarily differentiate as well as I should have, and I did not use as many as effective strategies as I should have while I was teaching. I kind of thought that my way was the best way, but as I've become more educated, I realized that there's still a lot that I have to learn. So I talked about our agenda, and then I started talking about compressing the lessons. The teachers really liked this video. It kind of woke them up. We'd already been in professional development for about 2 hours when they saw this, so they really thought that was something that was a nice thing for me to put in there for them to kind of help wake them up and get them moving and keep them energized again. So we talked about compressing the lesson and splitting it up. We talked about social impact games, which that is a strategy that is on the computer. It's basically a simulation. For our elementary teachers, that was not something that could be really used for them, so I adapted it, where they could come up with simulations that they could work out in the classroom, like either with role-playing games or writing scripts or something like that. Moving through, we also talked about the examples of social impact games and where you can find them, and I gave them a website for that. Benefits, talked about that as well, of what social impact games are. We also talked about problem solving, and that problem solving is a highly beneficial strategy to use in the classroom. For activity time, this was one of the more interesting things that we did. So obviously you can see that I put a GIF in here about Legos and them being constructed. So with that in mind, I wanted to share with you the activity that I did for the teachers. I had them get on Lego Creator. So this is a game that my family and I play, and I brought this game to school, and what I did was I went ahead and set it up, and I had 4 volunteers come, and they went ahead and tried to construct different images from those Legos. And so let me get you a picture of that. So here you can see that the 4 teachers are playing it, and there are the 4 cards. On each card is a design. You can see in this one what the final design is supposed to be, and then whoever constructs it first wins. You're actually supposed to roll dice and have your character move around. However, to make this a little bit more time conducive, I took the dice rolling out and said just build it as fast as you can. What they did not know was before they got up there, I had already set the game up and then removed a couple of essential pieces. So it was ensured that they were not going to be able to build all of the shapes. So I wanted to see if they could problem solve their way around that. True to form, the 4 teachers worked together, and when they worked together, they were able to build 2 of the designs, and they were able to collaborate. So we were able to link that with a lesson that we talked about with the human body. So we talked about with the human body that there are joints, and that in a science lesson where you're talking about bones and joints, why are the joints important? You could link a Lego activity into that. So that would be a problem-solving strategy that you could give the kids sorted Legos, take a piece out, and then really illuminate why joints are so important. The teachers really seem to have enjoyed that particular activity, and we'll go over that here in the evaluation. Problem solving, we continued on for a few slides talking about that. We then moved on to my favorite topic of discussion and research. I came across an article over constructivism in wikis using the Web 2.0. And using the Web 2.0, students can take previously learned material and create internet wikis to which an entire audience can see that. The results of that study were very encouraging as teachers saw a higher retention percentage of knowledge, and the students did much better on testing, and they retained knowledge even after the school year had concluded versus students that were in the traditional classroom. So knowing that strategy and knowing that I was going to have to use computers and knowing that we were in our church sanctuary and I wouldn't have access to that, I thought and brainstormed of some ways that our teachers could actually see the use of constructivism. So what I did was I came up with a poster board activity. And this is our poster board activity. And so there were 4 different topics. So I separated the teachers out into 4 groups. One group did Patriarchs of Israel, one group did Tragedies of Literature, one group did Garden Insects, and another group did the 20s. And so when they were sent to their groups, they were given these items. They did not necessarily have to include all or any of these items, but they did have to come up with like a picture that represented those items in some way. And so I gave them an example that I had created. This was my example. So Huntsville, Alabama is known as the Rocket City. And in the Rocket City, we are known for being a host of NASA, that we have the Marshall Space Center. Rockets were designed and built here and tested in Huntsville, Alabama, giving us the nickname. Wernher von Braun was a scientist. I included the city over here on this side, on the right. The name of the center, the Space Center, is in the middle. Redstone Arsenal is a military base that is designed for military research and scientific research, particularly for engineering. We have a lot of engineering companies, space, technology. So I tried to kind of come up with an abstract word cloud and then try to connect the dots. So that was their example. So with that in mind, with the poster board activity, here is what they created. This was the tragedies. So our English teacher actually volunteered to take that. This is a sword going through a heart and then causing blood or death after a romance. And so that was his representation. For the Bible teachers, this was their final product of Abraham is the tree. And then the other, his descendants kind of fan out as the branches. This was a group that did one over history in the 20s, and so you can see bootleg, and that we have prohibition with the X. There's a little bit more with urbanization, so they did a great job on that. And then the science teachers kind of took this one with insects, and I just included a whole bunch of insects, and they said it's a bug's life. So that was the activity that I had them do to illuminate why constructivism is so important. And so we went through that. A couple other things, we just talked about the benefits and how you could use the Web 2.0 to your advantage. And then I made sure that they knew that I had works that I had actually gone through into the research that actually was cited as a strength in the evaluation. So there's my works cited page. For handouts, I included an Elliott. We had talked about this in our professional development, and I linked it to our 2-minute or 20-minute compressed sessions because the observers will be in there for 20 minutes. I gave a handout of the slides. And then I also gave a evaluation sheet. So it was over content, presentations, and met expectations. As far as the results, I went ahead and tabulated those as well. And so this was the final tabulation of the results. According to the results, my conclusions were that the presentation was good, the teachers responded well to the presented strategies, and it was evident that the faculty really enjoyed the enhanced slides as well as the activities. However, I could improve in the quality of my handouts, and then I could also maybe address maybe having some music, some interactive music during the Lego Creator game. But overall, the teachers really had an enthusiastic response to the activity. All right. Well, that is everything for my presentation. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I hope maybe this helps somebody else as they're gearing up to get theirs ready to go. Have a great night.